My Private Idaho was like a magic moment. It was like a, I think we all knew we were doing something, even though we didn't discuss it, I'm sure, I think we all knew that we were doing something quite unique at the time.
It's a film of a particular moment, a film of a particular zeitgeist, and it isn't something that can be duplicated.
The whole experience of editing My Own Private Idaho was the greatest experience I've had creatively as a filmmaker.
Malinocha was sort of the first thing he did that got him some, industry notice. He wanted to do My Own Private Idaho right after he did Malinocha. And I think when he started to have the chance to talk to agents and to talk to people in Hollywood, have an audience with people that could fund movies in Hollywood, that was the first thing he pitched. And I think they said, what else do you have? And he also had this thing that was sort of in his back pocket called Drugstore Cowboy. And Drugstore Cowboy was, they said, no, forget the gay hustler thing. Let's, how about the Drugstore Cowboy? So, and that got produced first.
Drugstore Cowboy was hugely important for me as a designer. I don't know that I was 100% confident at the beginning of Drugstore Cowboy that he could pull off the oddball juxtapositions there, that he could make a movie about junkies and get away with it in Hollywood when you're not allowed to do that. But he'd proved to me and everybody else that he could.
When Drugstore Cowboy had the success it did, I think he had more choices, and he was able to do, this gave him a chance to do My Own Private Idaho, which he was aching to do. So he was able to sort of come home to Portland, come home to where he was, and make this regional film, and be left alone to some extent and hire the people that he wanted to work with.
He was very eager to go back to Portland and work the way he had on Malinocha. And his idea was that he was going to make this film for under $500,000 with local kids in Portland. So he was very excited and talked about it. And at the same time, he was sort of fantasizing about his dream cast and, well, who knows what's going to happen with this film Drugstore Cowboy, and probably nobody's going to be interested, but at least it'll give me a chance to do My Own Private Idaho. But wow, wouldn't it be great if we could get somebody like River Phoenix?
There was never any doubt in my mind that what the script was trying to do was a profoundly wise thing. I still feel like that script is one of the dozen best scripts I've ever read in my life. The script was defiantly off the charts. The script was going into territory that scripts don't go. They didn't go in those years. And I mean, this really, at this point, you really have to scratch to think of other films that anybody saw that really had a gay theme and weren't sort of pandering. So everybody knew that we were out on a limb, we were exposed. There was the sort of comfort of having Gus's success with Drugstore Cowboy behind us. Everybody kind of already got it, that Gus was smarter than everybody else and he could do things that other people couldn't do and get away with it and really sort of thrill the audience. With My Own Private Idaho, we were pushing it much further thematically, much further in terms of sexuality, and we were equipped with the sort of strength of Gus's success the first time around, but we also knew we were exposed because this wasn't the script that you necessarily would invite your sort of Aunt Martha to read.
Faster, little Dutch boy, harder. Oh. Yeah, that sound.
Oh, that you love me always and be mine alone.
I didn't realize how good Gus was. I didn't realize how good the script was, and how right on it was about Mikey being this character who's kind of young and not at all grown up. It's really the juxtaposition of childhood and being forced into doing, adult things like turning tricks for a living, and I think although Gus didn't sensationalize on that, I think what he did was he really captured it in an intimate, in a personal way.
He had started working on this story even before Drugstore Cowboy, and it was something that had been in his life for a long time. And the street world of Portland was really important to him. I mean, he was interested in it because of the stories that dwelled there. He was interested in it because of his sort of personal relationship to it. And he was interested in it because of the way it connected to the whole history of storytelling. And this sort of whacked out idea of tying the streets of Portland together with Shakespeare, I think it gestated for a long time. By the time I first read the script, I was thunderstruck. I just couldn't believe that so much intelligence was allowed to be in Hollywood cinema.
Jesus, the things we've seen. Aren't I right, Bob? Aren't I right?
We have heard the chimes at midnight.
That we have. That we have.
Gus was inspired by Chimes at Midnight, definitely. And that was always part of the conception. He always acknowledged that one of the central ideas of the film was the parallel between the world of Henry IV and the Portland street world, and the idea being that this sort of story is timeless, that there have always been these street kids and these magnetic figures who organize them and create an alternate life, and they're in conflict with the respectable world.
Without verbalizing it, without sort of wallowing in what it means, I could always feel that Gus was very in touch with each end of these poles. The street life and the Shakespeare life, and the way there was a street life in Shakespeare, and the way there was a nobility in the streets of Portland, that was always sort of seething under the surface of Gus. So he didn't have to say anything, but I could feel it, and everything he put out referred to that. The point of this movie was not to make that world look sleazy, or to find the sleaziness in that world. The point of this movie was to find the amusement of that world, to find what you do with your mind and your buddies when you live there. What do you think about? What do you laugh about? How do you get through the day?
Hey, you dick! Scotty, my friend. Oh, you like that, huh? You like that. My new Nikes, my new bracelet. It says Rudy, though, but that's cool. My new Calvins.
What if they had? So stupid.
Gus is not the kind of person who is telling jokes, but he is the kind of person who carries a wry smile with him everywhere he goes, because he finds amusement in the way people live together.
It's a sad story. It's a tragic story. Even in some of the tougher scenes, Gus always offers a little bit of comic relief.
Dear honey, found a job in the lounge, the family tree in Snake River. If you're ever out this way, look me up, love mom. Rooms, phones, color TV, wall-to-wall carpeting, individually controlled electric heat combination tub, and showers, game table, and 2 reading chairs with some connecting rooms. It sounds so nice.
It's pretty legendary, the fact that this film didn't follow the script at all. Or at least only in a very sketchy way. The actors really used the script as a jumping off point, and it's to Gus's credit that he was comfortable enough to let them do it, because they did a lot of brilliant stuff that they were sort of inspired to do by the script.
The cruel part of filmmaking for actors is that they show up at 6 in the morning, and then you're rehearsing for maybe an hour, and then they go away and everybody lights and gets the camera set up, and after you've discussed the coverage, and everything kind of comes from this process of the actors not having enough time to rehearse. It's not like a play where you can go and you can really scrutinize everything and analyze everything and tear it apart, and you really have to just go. It came down to Gus's vision, and Gus being able to work alone, and Gus being able to delay a lot of his decisions until the moment that we're on the set and figuring it out. Like, how do you block a scene? How do you cover a scene? And Gus tends to work very directly. You know, his work was very, very simple. You'd start with the beginning of a scene and shoot that, and then you'd kind of go, okay, we'll get a new camera angle over here for the middle of the scene, and then we'll kind of grab a new angle for this over here at the end of the scene. Visually, it kept it alive, and it sort of was a very direct way to deal with blocking and coverage. And still, you know, still giving yourself as many choices in the editing room as you need.
Oh, my sweetheart. Come and rob with us tomorrow.
Oh, I was going to anyway. I was just kidding.
There was a tendency for us to want to, you know, to minimize coverage. So whenever we could pull it off in one or two shots without coverage, that was always a great thing, because we didn't have all the money in the world. We needed to be able to move fast.
I mean, the thing about this film is that it was all about freedom. It was just still Gus and all of us here in Portland making what I've now grown to call college filmmaking. You know, it was all of us making a college